Hi there. I just watched your video, or the video asking the question why, or how can George Zimmerman shoot an unarmed teenager and not be found guilty of at least manslaughter? I thought I'd give you a little bit of a reason why. Um, Not to in any way, I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying that I in no way, shape, or form condone what George Zimmerman did, or try to besmirch the memory of Trayvon Martin. I'm just trying to explain, as best as I understand it, from a layperson's legal point of view, why Zimmerman could not have been found guilty of manslaughter, even though he shot an unarmed Trayvon Martin. Um, the jury went into the jury room with a very specific set of instructions from the judge. These instructions were had to be didn't have to be, but were ultimately okayed and signed off on by both the prosecution and the defense with regards to how the jury was going to deliberate. And when the jury got into the jury room, they had two questions that they had to ask. And the second question that they would have had to answer was dependent upon the answer of the first question. The first question that the jury had to decide was, did George Zimmerman act because he felt his life was in danger? Was he in fear for his life? And the simple fact of the matter is that if the jury answered yes to that question, the second question of guilt for anything becomes irrelevant. If they have agreed that he was in fear of his life, there was no crime committed. There was nothing unlawful done because George Zimmerman legally, in the mind of the jury who was deliberating, was in fear of his life. So the jury went into the jury room. They answered that first question: was George Zimmerman in fear of his life when he acted in the killing of Trayvon Martin? And they answered yes, he did act in fear of his life. And so, because they'd already answered yes, the degree of his guilt became moot because he was not guilty in the death of Trayvon Martin, either as second-degree murder or manslaughter. You used the example of the person driving a car running a red light and committing and hitting a car and killing someone, and they can be found guilty of manslaughter. Or someone building a house that collapses, and the person can be found guilty of manslaughter. In both of those instances, I doubt that the person who ran the red light or who built the house would claim that they acted under extreme duress in fear for their life. And so, that in a nutshell is how George Zimmerman could shoot an unarmed Trayvon Martin and not even be convicted of manslaughter, because the first question, was he in fear for his life, was answered in the affirmative by the jury, and thus the second question of, is it murder or is it manslaughter, didn't even have to be asked. As soon as the jury came to the verdict that Zimmerman acted in self-defense, then the rest of the questions were moot. He had to be found not guilty for all charges. Because you can't say that he was not guilty because of self-defense for second-degree murder, but guilty of manslaughter. Because once he's defending himself, once he has met the legal definition of self-defense, then it doesn't matter any of the rest of it. So that's my understanding of it. Hope I understand you're trying to make a point with your videos. I just from a legal point of view, that's why George Zimmerman was able to kill Trayvon Martin and not even be found guilty of manslaughter. So later, bye.